Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, it's 1:30, so we'll get started. Thanks, everyone. This is the Planning Commission retreat for 2023. Earlier today, we had a site visit at the former Camera 12 site on Second Street. And now we'll go to item 3 on the agenda. Welcome introduction, Robert Manford.
Good afternoon, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Planning Commission retreat of 2023. This is something that we normally do every fall, always late October or early to mid-November, for us to sit back, look behind decisions that have been made by the commission, which areas we need some kind of feedback on, and then basically the general trend of development, how it impacts us. This is coded in Article 2, Section 4 of the bylaws of the Planning Commission. So it's also subject to the Brown Act. Nonetheless, this is supposed to be very, very relaxed and informative as well. So feel free to chip in when someone is talking. It's not as organized and as formal as we normally would do the Planning Commission. So on that note, I will introduce the city staff over here. And I'll start with myself, Robert Manford, Deputy Director for Planning. There is Gerard Ferguson, Principal Planner on the citywide team. And we do have John Tu, Division Manager for Development Review. And we just got joined by Aaron Yu from City Attorney's Office. And on Zoom, I believe we do have Sylvia, who is a division manager as well. Last but not the least is our director, Chris Burton, who will say a few words before we hand over to our chair.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Robert. Great to see everybody and nice to see people in person as well. So just wanted to just say a couple of words, just obviously to thank you all for your service. We really appreciate you always taking the time and spending so much of your time with us on a Wednesday night. The role and the importance of our planning commission just continues to evolve, right, on an ongoing basis. And I think there's such a dynamic environment right now with a lot going on. I think we're in some of the most challenging economic conditions for development we've seen, certainly through my career, and that includes the Great Recession, right? When you actually look at where things development stand right now, we're in the midst and depth of a housing crisis that we just don't seem to have a path out of right now. The political dynamic is very different. This last year, we've turned over a majority of our city council. So with people that are learning as they go. And so the importance of planning commission with, approvals, but also those recommendations into city council just remains to be incredibly important, incredibly valued. So we really appreciate the partnership. We appreciate the opportunity to have open dialogue with all of you as the planning commission. Certainly appreciate moments like this where we can take the time and kind of sit and listen and learn together. This is such sort of valuable and important time. So with that, I'll let the team get on with it. I won't be able to stay the whole time, but I certainly really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. All right, so next on our agenda, we have a presentation on the cost of residential development, and that'll be from Jared Ferguson from the Office of Economic Development.
Jared Ferguson, a principal planner. I lead the housing team in our citywide group. We have our consultants joining. I don't know if they're on quite yet because I think we're a little ahead of schedule. But so what they're going to be talking about today is our cost of residential development study. So we started this work back in 2018 when we launched our housing crisis work plan, which has now become our housing catalyst work plan. We really focused a lot of our policy work on how we could increase housing production. And kind of to inform that policy work, we wanted to have a deeper understanding of all of the inputs that go into producing housing, not just what the city controls, but what are all the environmental factors, economic factors that go into creating new housing. And so we've had 3 previous versions of this study. We did one in 2018 when we launched it. I mentioned we did an update in 2019. And we had a little bit of a lag because of COVID. We did our last update last year in 2022. And we did this most recent one in October of 2023. And we intend to continue to regularly do it so that we have kind of the contextual current environmental picture of what's going on to inform how we're maybe modifying our policy work or how we're making adjustments so that we can be in the best position possible to increase housing production. And also other work around preservation as well. And so the two reports that you will be hearing about today, one is on market rate housing. And it is it's a feasibility analysis that looks at hypothetical development. So these aren't actual projects, but it looks at a variety of different development types ranging from 5 stories, 7 stories to high rise in different geographic locations throughout the city, and then estimates their feasibility being built. And then there's also an additional analysis on affordable housing, and it looks more in depth at actual projects that have been built in San Jose and compares them to other projects that have been built across the state, maybe ones that have accepted tax credits. And so we have our consultant team from Century Urban. I don't know if they're on yet. I think we're a little bit. I think they're planning on joining at 1:40. They're going to take us through kind of the results of those two reports that were presented to the City Council on October 26th at a study session. Hopefully, we should have about 15 minutes for each report and then about 15 minutes for questions. I think we probably want to get through the slides first to make sure we cover it before we get into questions. But I think hopefully we can leave enough time for some discussion. But yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything. Chris.
Yeah.
Have some time.
This is a pet project. So I would encourage you, if you get the opportunity, take a look at the video from the study session. So in addition to our consultants, we actually had a number of sort of experts there as well. So to give sort of expert testimony and context to the work that we did. I'm sure we can follow up with a link after the study session today. So we had somebody from, and rather than in the years past, we've had developers kind of give the generalist approach, and we wanted to change that a little bit this year. So in this time, we brought in somebody who is an expert in the real estate side, so the acquisition of land, sort of putting deals together. We brought in somebody who works actively on pricing construction contracts. So it was really focused on the actual cost of construction. We brought in somebody who was focused on the financing. So the financing is a huge part of this, as we'll get into. And then lastly, we had an affordable developer who was speaking really to the difference between market rate development and affordable development. So in sort of crazy context, it's actually quite often more expensive to build an affordable unit than it is to build a market. There's a number of reasons why that is. So I think that's just really valuable context to hear it from other voices than just from city staff and our consultants. I'll spoil the punchline for you. It doesn't look good, right? And I think that's not a surprise to anybody. And when we went into this work initially, I think, the other sort of context around this, I probably should have said more about this up front. In the context of the housing crisis, it's really hard for staff. There's limits to what we can do. And then everybody else is around us, certainly elected officials, want to improve the situation, want to make changes. So a lot of policy was getting thrown at us around 2018. The whole response to the housing crisis was a work plan to say, what can we do to remove all barriers we have? And then since that time, we've seen the state take this on as a mantle and throw all manner of challenges at us through changes to state law that have really changed the landscape and the way that we do our work. The intent of cost of development was really to point to this underlying issue of financial feasibility, which is actually a very significant part of the problem. And sometimes you can't policy your way out of the problem because ultimately we rely on private investment and private development to deliver all of the buildings that are included in our 40-year visions of the future of the city. Right? We as a city don't go out there and build very much. And so that's the challenge. That's why I think this work is so important and so important to understand, because it influences so much of what we do. Yeah,
Anybody, if someone has a question for Chris or Jared?
Wait, I'm not ready for questions.
Yeah, I got a question. Do you guys have any follow-up on the report this morning that we can try to help you?
is the expected, like, open?
I think y'all have different dates though, right? I think Nosh, what was it, Nosh?
Yes.
Years and Nosh, they said they were trying to aim for March. Urban, what?
They said January,
Yeah,
and then the Axel in place would also be sometime in the spring.
when you kind of entertainment hub, we're hoping that area gets all activated. I heard, well, at least from Dan and them, that they were trying to go by Christmas. It was pretty impressive. But I'm excited to see what they do in that area. I would love a beautiful brunch spot for Sunday down there, and then the way that the space opens up to the paseo, hopefully it really kind of interacts with the entire plaza in that area.
I just wanted to say what was striking to me was how complimentary they were of the city staff. That's really good to hear. I think like a lot of things in media, we tend to hear the complaints and how bureaucratic and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which I always take with a grain of salt, but I know working with all of you, they work really hard, and it was really gratifying to me, and I hope to you guys, that they're very complimentary of the city staff and collaboration. That was great to hear.
That's good to hear.
I think we have Jake, Kraft, and Griselda. Can you hear us? I think you're on now with the commission and everyone.
I can hear you. Good afternoon, everyone.
I think we can.
Jennifer, can you turn on the presentation?
Just looking.
Right, Jake. While we were waiting, I gave an intro, so feel free to take it away from here.
I'm sorry, I had a little bit of trouble hearing you. You said while we were waiting.
I gave an intro before you guys joined, so feel free to jump into your
Jump
slides.
in. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, everyone, for having us. I hope the information we provide today is helpful and interesting. I don't know that there's going to be a ton of surprises, but maybe this will put a little bit of detail to the work that we've done and what we found in our most recent report. You may be aware that this is the fourth time this report has been done in the city. We didn't do the original two, but they were done in 2018 and 2019. And then there was a break during COVID. And then we did the first report we've done for the city in 2022, which we presented last year. And this is the second time we've done this report. And I guess I'm not in control of the slide. So if you want to go to the next slide. What I'm going to talk about today is the general findings from our report, and then what the report is based on, the prototypes that we analyzed, the residential development prototypes we analyzed, the scenarios we analyzed, the assumptions we used for rental and for sale for the prototypes, the cost assumptions we used, the residual values, which are in a way the results of the analysis. And then we also did some consultation with stakeholders, developers, brokers, and others to sort of field test, if you were, our conclusions. And I can share their feedback, which in general is very supportive of the work that we did. So without further ado, if we could go to the next slide. So for those of you who may not be familiar with or did not read our 2022 report, in 2022, we found that the residential feasibility was challenged for new development in San Jose for the prototypes that we studied. And unfortunately, relative to the 2022 report, this year, the feasibility was even more challenged. A lot of that has to do with current market conditions. So, some of the big things that have changed since 2022, costs for development, particularly hard costs, have continued to go up substantially. Our total estimated cost from 2022 inflated about 12 to 13% on average since we looked at costs about 18 months ago when we looked at the cost for the 2022 study. And that's had a significant impact on feasibility. You're probably aware from reading the news that interest rates have doubled over the past 12 months, and that has a major effect on target returns on cost, on borrowing a development loan. And now construction interest rates, which I believe we assumed in 2022 were around 5%, are now hovering over 8%. And on the slightly positive side, for feasibility, rental and sale prices have increased, but those increases have not been sufficient to offset the two other things I mentioned, the increase in the cost of development and the increase in interest rate and target returns. So the conclusion here is that feasibility is challenged across the many residential prototypes we analyzed. And even in the sensitivity analysis, where we looked at 5% positive changes in rental rates, in condominium sale prices, and 5% reductions in development costs, even there, feasibility is challenged. So overall, this is a very difficult time for developments like the prototypes to make sense. So that's the overall conclusion. Now I'll go into a little bit of the details. If we can go to the next slide. So we analyzed a variety of prototypes, 3 sort of categories of rental prototypes and 2 categories of for sale prototypes. You'll see the second line there is construction type. So we looked at type 5, type 3, and type 1. Type 5 generally being low-rise wood frame buildings, type 3 being a mid-rise building, and type 1 being a high-rise building. And you'll see we looked at type 5 and type 1 for the for sale prototypes. These prototypes we kept the same as the prototypes that had been studied from 2018 to allow sort of an apples to apples comparison. So there was no changes to the prototypes this year or last year. You can see the prototypes ranged from about 65 to 350 units and generally assumed above grade parking except for the type 1 prototypes. And we looked at these prototypes across various submarkets within the city, including the South and East, the Central, West, North, and downtown. Next slide, please.
Before you go, can you tell me what efficiency is?
Sure. Efficiency is the relationship between the gross square footage and the net square footage, the net rentable square footage or the net saleable square footage. So for example, you might have a utility room in a apartment building that would not be, some rentable space, but you still have to build it.
Do you count commercial space differently?
No, well, these prototypes did not include commercial space in them, but that would be included in rentable or saleable square footage. That would be part of the net rentable or saleable square footage if we had it. But in these prototypes, the efficiency is really the relationship between the actual space inside of the units that are rented or sold to residents versus, the lobby, the hallways, the utility rooms, common areas that are not directly rented. So you still have to spend money to build those spaces, but you don't get paid any rent per square foot for those spaces in the way we calculated it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this page shows some more detail about the type 1 scenarios we looked at. So in addition to a basic market scenario where we looked at, these are the high-rise scenarios, we looked at them based on the market rates for rental projects or sale projects, including the statutory and lieu fees. We also looked at a waiver scenario, which corresponds to some of the laws on the books in San Jose now, in which in addition to the units, there is at market rental rates and sale prices, there is a waiver of the in lieu fees, 100% waiver of the in lieu fees, and 50% waiver of some of the construction taxes. And finally, we looked at affordable scenarios that assumed 95% of the units leased or sold at market rates, 5% of the units at 100% AMI, and then again, a waiver of the statutory and lieu fees and the construction taxes. And again, these scenarios, the idea was to see in these waiver scenarios, is feasibility much more possible? And as I mentioned up front, feasibility is still challenged across all of the scenarios. Next slide, please.
Why is there no south or east? Is that just because of transportation and commercial activity, or?
Sorry, when you're saying there's no south or east, we did, it actually is here. We did
Oh,
look at south or
okay.
east, but we didn't look at type 1. So again, we inherited where these prototypes were studied. And I guess when they were generated, the idea was it was more unlikely that you would have a high-rise building in the south and east submarkets versus it was more likely to be developed in one of the other submarkets in San Jose.
I would just add that the study has evolved from when they were first prepared. So originally type 1 was only examined or analyzed in downtown, but then type 1 was extended to be analyzed, I think, in the west submarket, is it, Jake?
Yeah, I think, well, we did look at the west, central, and north for type
west
1.
for type 1. So it was
And-
extended. So it has evolved over time, but it's just that certain prototypes are not looked at, certain construction types aren't looked at in every submarket, because you don't see that type of development in that submarket.
That's right, yeah. So this page reflects our assumptions for rental rates and rental income in apartments for new development in our prototypes. And you can see the south and east was the lowest rent area on average versus the west being the highest. And to generate these numbers, we looked at new projects in these areas which would correspond to what we were analyzing in the prototypes. And we used weighted averages to try to come up with the most appropriate rent that would make sense for our analysis. So again, yes.
Type 1, well, looks like basically all the types yield the same rental rate?
That's right. We did not see, it's interesting. You can obviously find individual examples since these represent averages, but we did not see a major rental rate premium for type 1 projects. Again, as I say, there are individual examples. That's not the case. And we've actually been looking at that a little bit more in some other markets where we're doing similar studies. And some years you see it, some years you don't. But when we ran the numbers, we did not see, an obvious, 10 or 20% premium that would justify kind of a higher rent in that product type. Next slide, please.
Well, and just
Yeah,
to
go
kind
ahead.
of fill that out a little bit, some of the developer feedback that we got was that rents in downtown and where you do see type 1 projects, they're actually lower than rents in other submarkets, regardless of the product type. And it's because they need to incentivize people to live in downtown.
Yeah, and again, because we're approaching this from a prototype standpoint, we sort of have to take a overall average, or we have to come up with a number that represents a lot of different types of projects. But the reality is obviously there is a lot of variety within individual products. These are the sale price assumptions for the for sale prototypes that we studied. You can see again a range from $700 per square foot for type 5 in the north to $775. And these are based on recent actual condominium sale data that we studied in order to generate these numbers.
So the subtext is downtown is a bargain.
Sorry, downtown is I didn't quite hear you.
Bargain.
Yeah, I guess that is one way to look at it. The flip side of that is what Leo just mentioned, that downtown has been more challenged in some ways, and that was expressed to us in some of the stakeholder feedback.
But it's also that the price per square foot of downtown is on the higher end. So you're, even though it's a bargain, you're getting less square
We get
footage.
less space.
You're getting a smaller space. So
Okay, I thought the space was consistent. Okay,
I don't think so. Isn't that? Is that? Well, I defer to consultants.
the square footage is fairly consistent. Is that a
Yes, the square footage is consistent across the submarkets for the prototypes that we studied.
So what? Well, if they're consistent, why is the
Because I think the type 5 and the type 1 square footage is not the same. So
right? So the square footage is probably less on
Yeah, it was.
Which means the price per square foot is higher, sale price is lower. Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay.
And Jake, you can go back to the summary table, summarizing prototypes. You can see. that-
Yes, well, I'm not in control, but whoever
Ah.
is in control can go back a couple pages and show the prototypes, shows the different square footages for the different type 1 and type 5.
Or if not, that's okay.
Or not, or we can keep going.
We can keep going. But to be clear, the square footages per unit are different between the construction types, but they're not different across
Between
submarkets.
submarkets.
There's also different building efficiency there too, so that impacts it also. Unit size and building efficiency.
Okay, do you want to go to the next slide? Oh, okay, great. So this slide details the costs of the various types of prototypes. And again, you can see we didn't, in general, the sort of hard costs we kept constant by the different submarkets, so that didn't change. The fees do vary a little bit by the submarkets because there's some different fees in different places. But you can see here that the lowest hard costs are in type 5 construction, sort of type 5 rental. And then as you get higher in your building type, you're building mid-rise and then type 1 high-rise, the costs become more expensive. And the costs for condo projects are also typically more expensive since they have for sale amenities, somewhat generally nicer finishes, sometimes a nicer skin than rental projects. And so those costs are higher than the rental projects. The fees line here, those include a number of things. I just want to point out the biggest number in those line items are the in lieu affordable fees, followed by the school fees, construction taxes, the parkland fees, and then the smallest portion of that fee line item is the planning and building fees, which I believe represent less than 1% of the total cost of the project. So, while there are a number of fees here, the actual planning and building fees are not necessarily a big piece of the overall project costs. In addition to the municipal fees, we also have other soft costs, and this includes things like architecture and engineering, the interest costs for a construction loan, insurance, real estate taxes during construction, etc. And when you add all those together, you end up with the total hard and soft costs to build the project. And again, you can see that's lowest for the low-rise rental project and highest for the high-rise for sale project. And you can see they range between 765 and a little over $1.1 million per unit.
Am I missing something, or are they losing money on downtown high-rise?
That's the punchline.
It's not feasibility.
I mean, that
I don't
much?
think you're missing anything. I think that's why it's very challenging. Feasibility is very challenging.
That's the takeaway.
Jake, I have a quick question. In regards to acquisition and cost of acquisition, I don't see that number on there. That's not included on that average hard cost?
You're absolutely correct. And that, in a way, is what we are solving for in this analysis. And we call that residual value. So what we've done here in this analysis, and we're going to get there in, I think, the next slide or two, is we're taking the total value of the project, and then we're subtracting the cost to build the project. And that tells us how much money is left for the land. I'm just looking to see. So actually, there's a slide in the appendix. Could you go to slide 16, page 16? It's easier to explain this.
It looks like 16 is the thank you slide.
It's after the thank you slide. Yeah, there's an appendix after the thank you slides. Yeah. Sorry, it's slide 19, I guess, on your thing. It shows up. Okay, very good. So this kind of gives an example of what we were doing and what residual value means, which I think is maybe timely to explain in advance of actually talking about the residual value conclusions. Imagine that you have you've built a condo unit and you can sell it for $100. That's just what condo units sell for in a given market. What we tried to calculate is, does it make sense for a developer to build a building if they can sell it, or to build that unit if they can sell it for $100? Obviously, if it costs them $110 to build the unit that they're going to sell for $100, they would say, well, I'm not building it at all. And that's the rightmost column here. You can see where the hard costs, the soft costs, and their sales costs and profit add up to $110 of total cost, even before land. And so they would say, well, I would not spend $110 to build something I can sell for $100. By contrast, if you can build something where the total cost is, for example, in the first example on the far left, example 1, $75, then you have $25 of residual value left over that you can use to pay for the land. So what we calculated was, again, what is this total cost, which I just went over on that previous slide. And we also calculated the total sale value. And then we're trying to find out, is there any space left in between them, which you can use to pay for the land. And so, if there's nothing left, then you can't pay for the land, and theoretically land value is 0. If there's space left, then that tells you can pay for the land. And then the question is that enough to actually buy land at what people who own land want to sell it for? In this case, in our prototypes, they all look like number 3, which is when we add up all these costs, which we just went over on the last slide, the costs add up to more than the value of the units. So not only would you not build the vertical building for $110 to sell it for $100, you don't have any money left over to pay for the land in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does this consider any tax credits or any other financial incentives developers might get? Is there any calculation of how much that can impact these numbers for?
Well, as I mentioned, for the type 1, we did look at those waiver scenarios, which included a waiver of the in lieu fees and partial waiver of the construction taxes. But no, we did not look at otherwise these were sort of market developments. And so we did not look at other types of incentives or structuring in these particular prototypes.
And if I don't know if the tax credits that you were referencing were, tax credits related to like renewable energy or some other source, but if it's specifically low-income housing tax credits, then those are allocated to affordable housing projects, and that's the subject of the next study.
But no, I was thinking energy credits or any others.
Okay, yeah, we didn't automatically assume that, but yes, we could analyze that. But once Jake summarizes the actual results, you'll see that they're not likely to make a significant dent in the gap.
Leo, I have a quick question too. In regards to hard cost, like construction cost, I know that during COVID, things tripled because of scarcity and whatnot. And well, now we have inflation. Was after COVID, did construction costs go down at all?
Not so far that we have observed in the market. However, I just heard, and this is a statewide index, but I just heard from someone else that they were talking recently to someone at the state, and they said that they saw a decline in their index year over year of 4%. But that's statewide. Keep in mind that's statewide. In the Bay Area, we have not seen declines in cost yet.
Thanks.
Okay, if you want to go back up a number of slides to where we were, I think we're at slide 12, maybe.
Hey, Judge, just because we have another presentation, do you think we did most of your summary in the next 5 minutes so that?
Yes, I'll wrap up. I'll wrap up shortly here. So just quickly on this slide, this is what I mentioned at the beginning, that costs from 22 to 23 increased over 12% from one study to the next. So that has not helped feasibility. You could go to the next slide. This is a summary of total costs excluding land since the study started. So to the question about, what has happened since COVID, you can see that costs have really gone up substantially. I mean, there was a break between 2019 and 2022. You can see the cost to build per unit has gone up a lot. We in fairness did not do the studies in 2018 and 2019, but assuming the methodology was pretty similar, things have gotten much more expensive to build.
Do we know what those costs are, labor, materials, what increases?
It's a combination of both. Yeah. It's been sort of across the board, unfortunately. Next slide. So these are kind of the bottom line takeaways. As you recall, I was explaining that residual value is the difference between what the project's worth in the end and what it costs to build. And so if you have a negative number, that means, again, we're subtracting $110 of cost from a $100 value unit. And here you can see these numbers are all negative. The least negative numbers were in the type 5 construction, in large part because they're just cheaper to build. The type 1, as somebody pointed out earlier, it's very hard to make money on because they're much more expensive to build that type of construction, which requires steel and is just a much more involved construction project. The other thing you can see that's a takeaway from this is that, in general, this is not a huge surprise, but markets with higher rents tend to be, have a little bit better feasibility. So for example, in the type 3 construction, the West market, which has higher rents, presents more feasibility than the Central or the North. But in general, the lower rise projects are more feasible than the higher rise projects. And that was true both in the rental and the for sale prototypes. If you want to move to the next slide. We presented these results to a large number of developers and brokers and other industry professionals who joined us on a couple of calls with the city. And in general, they supported everything that the report says. They thought that feasibility was very challenged across the board. To the extent that they gave comments to us, the majority of their comments would actually make feasibility worse than we described it. They seem to say that even beyond the return that a developer needed to get, that we assumed, they wanted to assume even a higher one. They also thought perhaps our rents were too aggressive and they would have seen lower rents in some of their projects. And finally, they pointed to the fact that operating expenses have increased substantially over the last year, especially insurance, which has been, a major challenge, I think, for most real estate operators across the country and in the Bay Area. So those are sort of the main takeaways and feedback from speaking with developers and brokers. In terms of things to do, they felt that waiving impact fees would help, but alone would be insufficient to really spur huge housing development. And that is really going to require some changes in our market conditions, interest rates, cost to build, etc. So that was the takeaway, basically supporting the report that we did and the results that we found. And I think if you go to the next slide, I think that is it. So I know we have another report to do. If there are any other questions or anything that was unclear, happy to answer any questions.
So I think it would be good to get into maybe Griselda's, and then we can maybe kind of pull some more questions at the end. That way we're sure to get through. I think, yeah. I just want to
Terrific. I'll go on mute. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks.
Yeah, can you pull up the other slides, Jennifer, the other presentation? Give me a second, PDF.
Look, there's good-looking people all the time.
No.
The quiet part or the good-looking part?
Michael, that's why you call the townhouses developers bread and butter.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Griselda Blackburn, and I will be presenting the Affordable Housing Cost Study. Century Urban was engaged to prepare an update to a study that we completed in 2022 on the factors that are driving affordable housing costs in San Jose. The study evaluates the cost of developing affordable housing within the city through a review of all of the major cost components, and that includes land acquisition costs, construction costs, and soft costs, and to identify the trends and factors that contribute to the high cost to build affordable housing projects. We then compared those cost components to other California cities with similar construction typology to identify cost variances to San Jose projects and evaluate the specific cost drivers. We obtained costs from tax credit applications for the projects that received an award since the last study was completed. Next slide. So we conducted our analysis by evaluating all of the projects that received a tax credit allocation in the first round of 2022 through the first round of 2023. There have since been 2 rounds, one that has already announced awards, but that the awards were announced in August, and this analysis needed to be completed by early September, so we weren't able to include those projects. But in that time frame, there were 8 projects located in San Jose, totaling 987 units, and those were in buildings ranging in size from 60 units to 270 units, and building heights ranging from 5 stories to 7 stories. 43% of the units are in projects that applied under the large family housing type, 30% applied under the special needs housing type, and one project representing 27% of the units, that's the 271 unit building, was non-targeted, meaning that the project is competing under a geographic set aside instead of housing type set aside, such as large family and special needs. For comparison, we looked at projects in other cities in 4 counties that have projects with a similar construction typology, with buildings ranging in height from 5 to 7 stories. These counties included Alameda County, the city and county of San Francisco, Los Angeles County, and we also looked at other cities within Santa Clara County that also received tax credit award during the time frame. And within those counties, we identified 21 projects totaling 2,929 units in buildings that range in height from 5 to 7. So we limited our analysis to buildings, projects that were within that height range. So in the data set, there were 3 projects in Alameda County, which totaled 12% of the total units. There were 11 projects in Los Angeles County, which represents 54% of the units. 5 projects in San Francisco, representing 19% of the units, and 2 projects in Santa Clara County that represented 12 units. And of those projects in the other cities, there was also an overweight to large family projects with 47% of the total units. Okay. Next slide. So before we move on to the results, it's important to note that affordable housing projects also face the same pressures as market rate housing related to current market conditions. So as my colleague Jake noted in his presentation, construction costs have continued to increase well above inflation, and doubled over the past year. So both of those factors have contributed to the significantly higher costs that we see in the current study as compared to the results from our prior study. So, next slide. So comparing the San Jose projects in this study to the study that we completed in 2022, we see that there has been a pretty significant shift away from special needs projects to more large family projects. And that appears to be a direct result of policy goals at the local and state level. We also noted that building heights decreased slightly from the prior study, where there were high-rise projects that were included or received a tax credit award. But in this study of the 8 projects, there were none that were of a high-rise type 1 typology. Also, because there are more large family projects in this study, unit sizes are also larger as compared to the prior study. The next slide. So this slide provides a very high-level summary of the overall study findings, which I'll discuss in greater detail in the following slides. But what we see is a pretty significant shift in the average cost per unit for projects in this study as compared to the prior study, which covered the period from late 2019 through 2021. As you can see, from 2021 to 2022, the average unit cost increased by 13%, with another 24% increase between 2022 and 2023. We don't believe that rising construction costs tells us the whole story, because as I noted earlier, the projects in the study are larger than in the prior study, with the prior study projects averaging 932 square foot per unit, and the projects in this study averaging 1,170 square feet per unit. So if we look at total development costs on a per square foot basis, which is the chart on the bottom right, you can see that the annual increase over the past 2 years averages to about 4% per year. So it's a much more modest increase year over year. Notably, though, there are fewer special needs projects in the current study. And special needs projects tend to have a higher overall cost. And this may be why we're seeing the per square foot cost only at 4% increase per year over the past 2 years. But I will note that although there were fewer special needs projects, 5 of the 8 San Jose projects had a set aside of 50% or more of the units for extremely low income households, as compared to just 3 out of the 21 projects in other cities. And projects with a higher percentage of ELI units generally have a higher development cost than projects at higher income levels. And I'll go into a little more detail on that in the later slides. The next slide. So in this chart, we compare San Jose project costs by housing type to other cities. And as you can see, cost to develop in San Jose is higher across the board for any category of housing.
On the bottom, we can't see the.
That's on our screen, Michael, that's on here.
Is there a way to get, no, but I mean, can we get rid of that?
Jennifer should be able to.
It's on the screen. You touch it.
Okay, because we can't see the whole chart.
1 copy.
Oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. But so one notable difference are projects in San Francisco, which there were 5 included in the analysis. They averaged over 1 million per unit, which does kind of skew the development costs for other city projects higher. But we'll take a closer look at how San Jose compares to other cities in a later slide. But also you'll see that special needs projects come at a pretty significant premium in San Jose relative to other cities, with 35% higher costs than the average of all the other cities evaluated with special needs projects.
Are you going to talk about why that's so different at all?
Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Okay. So while it is typical to think about housing costs on a per unit basis, we did dig a little bit deeper to understand that there are structural factors that might be driving the differential in cost per unit from San Jose to other cities. So we do that on the next slide. So we note that average unit sizes for San Jose projects are larger on average than the unit sizes for projects in other cities. And although large family projects are approximately 17% smaller in San Jose than large family projects in the other cities we evaluated, San Jose projects significantly exceed the unit size of other housing types, particularly the special needs projects. So if we take a closer look at the 3 special needs projects that received a tax credit award in San Jose, we find that all 3 of them are actually also large family projects. So that is one major reason why we're seeing a higher cost for that particular housing type. And large family projects are those that include more than 50% of their units as 2 bedrooms or more. And so we note that although you have projects in San Jose designated as special needs, they're actually most of the projects in San Jose were actually meet the definition of large family.
So what's driving that increased size? Is it market conditions or does developers can control that, right?
It has more to do with policy funding. So there's a set aside for each housing type. And it can change from year to year. And these are set asides that are set at the state level for tax credits. And so for prior years, there had been more emphasis on special needs projects for permanent supportive housing, which are generally smaller units. But there's lately been a larger shift towards allocating more of tax credit capacity to larger projects, so large family. And so that's why projects often follow where the funding is available. And so you have more projects that are going after the large family because there's simply just more allocation available. Okay, next slide. So because of the unit size variances, we also wanted to see how costs compare on a square foot basis, as this would provide a more clear picture. So we see here on the chart that only San Francisco projects exceed the per square foot cost of projects in San Jose, which is not surprising. We all know that projects in San Francisco are just more expensive to build in general, but they're also predominantly large family as well, which may be part of the explanation. There is one other project here in Burbank, which exceeded the cost of all other projects on a per square foot basis, but we consider this one to be a bit of an outlier because of the acquisition costs, which averaged $95,000 per unit. That was much higher than the average for all other projects. But this project also didn't use HCD funding, and so its developer fee is not capped like most other projects. Like any other project that uses HCD funding, a developer fee is capped. Here, it was not, and so they had a much higher developer fee as a result. So, next slide. So the prior slide shows that San Jose costs are higher than most other cities evaluated in the study on a total per square foot cost basis. But here we want to look at the individual cost components to see if there are specific cost drivers that make up that difference. And while we see that acquisition costs are lower in San Jose as compared to other cities, we see that nearly all other costs are higher, with construction costs, permits, and third-party costs and financing costs kind of leading the way. Financing costs are obviously driven by construction costs, so not surprising that they are also much higher.
If any other developers are looking at maybe cheaper construction, things like large timber, we're okay for zoning for large timber for development here, right?
Yeah, it'd be potentially, I guess, a building issue, not a planning issue.
They do have alternative means of construction that they have considered. There's a possibility to it, but we still have to meet data and alternative means.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Actually, so next slide. So we noted previously, now we're starting to dig a little bit deeper into what may be some of the specific cost drivers of projects, what makes them unique as compared to other projects. And we noted that previously that San Jose projects have a higher percentage of units that are set aside for extremely low income households, which are defined as those earning no more than 30% of the area median income. And just for context, for a family of four, that's about $54,000 per year. Projects at deeper levels of affordability come at a higher cost. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in the next few slides. As we noted previously, 5 out of the 8 San Jose projects had a set aside of 50% or more of the units for ELI households. And we deem these as ELI buildings just for clarity. That consists of 54% of all units. So meaning 54% of all of the units in the 8 San Jose projects were set aside for households earning 30% or less of the area median income. And that compares to 3 of the 21 projects in other cities that met that definition of an ELI building. So that and that comprised just 8% of total units. So as you can see, San Jose projects are significantly more focused on the really deep levels of affordability. There is a higher cost associated with ELI buildings, and that is because they require greater support services, which results in higher amenity and office space costs to provide those support services. ELI buildings also require operating reserves, given that the low rental revenue that's collected from residents is much lower, and therefore there needs to be subsidies to offset any shortfalls in operating costs. However, when we compare ELI buildings in San Jose to other cities, we do see that costs are much higher in San Jose, but this may be a function of how few ELI buildings there were in other cities, that the other cities had smaller unit sizes and also construction cost differences. So we dig into that a little bit more on the next slide. So it is often cited that labor costs are a significant driver of cost differences between jurisdictions, and labor costs typically comprise between 55% and 60% of total construction costs. So any change in labor costs will have a significant impact in overall construction costs. According to TBD Consultants, who is a cost estimator who prepared the cost estimates for the residential feasibility study that was presented by Jake earlier, he noted that San Jose labor costs are on average 2% higher than Berkeley Oakland labor costs and about 1% higher than San Mateo labor costs. So that does explain a little bit of the difference of why construction costs are higher in San Jose. But we also noted that prevailing wage, which is often required by cities as a condition of funding, also results in a higher construction cost, anywhere from 10 to 20%, and we've heard even more than that. And we know that most of the San Jose projects were utilized prevailing wage labor. And so we did look at the prevailing wage costs that were reported by the San Jose projects in the TCAC application. There were 3 projects specifically, which doesn't mean that they don't all use prevailing wage. It's just that the prevailing wage reporting is only provided if that a developer is seeking a bonus for that. But we noted that 19%, there's actually a typo, that 16%, there should be 19, of the total construction cost is attributable to prevailing wage. So that's well within the 10 to 20% that we hear often cited. So next slide. Next, we looked at impact fees, which comprise only 3% of overall costs. But this is an area that developers and policy advocates commonly cite as one area that cities can control to improve feasibility. So we looked at the average impact fees for projects in the city of San Jose as compared to other cities. And we see that from the 8 projects in the San Jose, in the current study, the city fees averaged $19,900 per unit, which was an increase over the average of $12,100 from the prior study. This average is also higher than some other cities or counties in the study, which may be due to other cities providing a higher discount to affordable housing. To test this, we compared the city of San Jose impact fees for a typical market rate project using the estimated provided by my colleague Jake. And we then compared this to projects in San Francisco and the city of Los Angeles. We see that in LA and San Francisco, the affordable housing project impact fees are about 3% and 16% respectively of what a market rate developer might pay. And this compares to San Jose affordable projects, which equals to about 25% of the estimated impact fees a market rate developer would pay. And what this suggests is that San Francisco and Los Angeles just provide higher waivers or exemptions for affordable housing projects. Okay. Next slide. So there are many factors that influence affordable housing costs. One is just the sheer number of funding sources needed to develop affordable housing. The more funding sources that are required, the longer it may take to assemble the capital stack, and could result in increased costs. As an example, your typical market rate project only requires two funding sources, and that's debt and equity. But for affordable housing projects, you have to assemble your tax credit equity, usually your first and largest amount of funding source, permanent financing, and all sorts of other residual receipts, grants, and other funding sources. And for projects in the city of San Jose, required more funding sources than other cities, which isn't surprising just given the higher costs. They averaged about 6 different funding sources, and there were 2 projects that actually required 8 funding sources. This is a little bit higher than we saw in the other cities, which averaged about 5 funding sources. And I think the maximum number of funding sources there was about 7 and that was just one project. So as a consequence of affordable housing projects in San Jose requiring more funding sources and having higher costs, the city also subsidizes units at a higher amount than other cities, and that averages about $84,500 per unit, which was an increase from the prior study of $74,000. As comparison, other cities in the study received an average of $72,800 per unit in local subsidies. And I should note, local subsidies can include both city funding as well as county funding. So, next slide. So lastly, we compared affordable housing costs to the typical market rate project using the analysis prepared by Jake. And not surprisingly, affordable housing projects exceed the projected cost to develop a comparable market rate housing, with the most notable difference being in construction costs. So with the affordable housing projects in San Jose averaged construction costs of about $506 per square foot, and this compares to $417 for the market rate prototype project in Jake's analysis. And there are a lot of factors that drive this difference, some which I mentioned. First, affordable housing projects typically use prevailing wage, as it's often a condition of funding. They also have to provide more amenities for support services. Financing costs are also higher because of the costs associated with tax-exempt bonds. And as I just mentioned as well, affordable projects require many different funding sources, which can add the time to develop the projects and can result in higher costs. And so in summary, on the next page, we see that the cost drivers for affordable housing in San Jose has first and foremost a lot to do with high inflation and interest rates, which have resulted in just a higher cost overall from the prior study. We also noted that affordable housing project costs are higher in the city of San Jose than most other cities evaluated, and that's largely because the city prioritizes development of ELI units. The most recent NOFA, or Notice of Funding Availability, requires 40% or allocates 40% of that funding to ELI units. And as I mentioned earlier, ELI units just have a higher development cost and also operating expenses. Another factor is San Jose projects require more funding sources, which may result in higher soft costs. So this is the cost to establish or assemble the capital stack. Impact fees are also higher in the city of San Jose, and prevailing wage is also more common in affordable housing projects in San Jose than some other cities. And so with that, I'll open it up to any further questions.
Sure. So we are behind schedule, but is staff okay with us taking some time for questions? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask, so from Jake's market rate presentation, I got the sense that, waiving fees would not make significantly more projects feasible for market rate. Griselda, what's the take on affordable? I didn't get a clear picture on that from the presentation. Would waiving fees make a significant impact on affordable housing?
Impact fees make up about 3% of the total development budget, so it doesn't move the needle that much. But when you're talking about affordable housing funding where the city is subsidizing projects, or you have, significant public subsidy, it's more of a trade-off, if you will, of whether you reduce the amount of subsidy needed or you reduce the amount of impact fees that the city receives.
Thank you. And just to follow up, I guess question for both of you. The overall takeaway I'm getting from both presentations is that the city's policy decisions are a very small part of what is making it so many of these potential projects infeasible. So what do you see the role of the city being in addressing this, given that?
That's a great question. I can start, and I'm sure my colleagues will want to add something. I mean, the first point I think that a lot of developers make to us is that while changing some of these smaller fees will not make development feasible immediately, as feasibility improves, as the economy improves, as interest rates improve, etc., even the small differences will make development start sooner, as opposed to, these things all add up. So, when the city does make progress, that is one element of, helping a project that has become infeasible get closer to feasibility faster. The other thing that was mentioned to us in a lot of the stakeholder meetings is just the process of project approval. Because right now the economy is not in a place where development is very attractive, that will change. And the question is, when that changes, are there a bunch of projects that are ready to go because they've been through the process and been approved, or does it take another year or two to get all the projects that are now feasible approved, in which case one might miss part of the cycle. So those are two pieces of feedback we received about, again, the city making a marginal difference in the cost that allows development to happen sooner as conditions improve. And second of all, having projects approved at a time when the economy has recovered, so that, they can go right away and might not miss better parts of better conditions. And I don't know, Griselda, Leo, if you have anything to add.
I just wanted to add to, maybe from staff perspective also, I think just kind of piggybacking off of what Jake said, I think we're kind of seeing it the same way. It's like, how can we position the city and ourselves to be in a place to have these projects move forward as soon as the market starts to shift? And I think you'll see a lot of the programs in our housing element structure that way. So how can we put the tools in place to be ready to move projects as things start to shift? How can we be ready a little bit sooner? So maybe as the feasibility starts to shift, some of those projects that are on kind of the cusp could go a little bit sooner. And
Can I take it back?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to monopolize all the time here, but I just want to ask one more follow-up question, given that your firm studies a lot of cities. One thing I've seen here in San Jose is council might take a direction to explore changing how we assess fees on development. They'll ask staff or a consultant to go do a study on the market and how it will impact that. And then it'll come back to council. And by the time that decision is being made, the market's not in the same place that it was, but when the study was done. Have you seen other cities come up with creative ways to address that kind of process? Because that's definitely a challenge we've had.
I'm not sure that we've seen cities specifically identify that as the issue they're trying to address. But, we do see when there is the kind of, so to speak, the political will, we do see cities acting more quickly so that they are addressing, things in a timely market cycle manner. And so I think that's probably one of the things that you could do. I mean, you could obviously, if you identify this as an actual issue, the city could actually, specify required timelines for implementing changes if there are going to be changes. But, like I said, I don't see cities addressing that internal feasibility analysis process and the timing for approving changes and so on and implementing them. I don't see that. I mean, I see cities doing things like saying, oh, well, we need to streamline approvals and do other things, but that's not specific to the city implementing changes.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for allowing me time for that.
But can I just piggyback on what you're saying, just be more specific, so that the 20% commercial requirement, is we've seen developers come back and want to find a way around that. If we did not require as much for commercial, that could be residential, or at least make some stipulation about requirements for commercial build out so that it is attractive in the market. Could that impact the formula for developers? Either making that commercial space more attractive by building out more than a dirt floor, or making less requirement for commercial. Maybe we do some sort of swap for more affordable. Is that something that would work?
You're talking about the context of mixed use zoning.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake, do you want to take this? I think giving developers flexibility does help. Knowing that they don't have to, they're not, to the extent that the market conditions don't support something, they have some flexibility to pivot. That would help.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it depends on the location of the project, how feasible the commercial is. But if the location of the project is not in a strong commercial location and there is a requirement to build commercial space, that can become an additional cost to the project as opposed to something that adds value to the project. And so creating flexibility on that would improve project feasibility.
And I would add that that's also true of affordable housing projects, in that there's no real funding available for commercial space. So, tax credits, for example, are only allocated to the residential component. So it's really the permanent financing costs and other, local subsidies that fund the commercial costs. So to the extent that that can be reduced, then it could improve the feasibility also for affordable.
Would a swap be feasible if we say 10% commercial required and 10% more affordable required, or 10% affordable required, you can't buy out of it, you got to do 10% period and move forward?
I think to the point that Griselda just made, yes, it could be beneficial in the sense that if you're swapping commercial for affordable residential, then now at least you can bring these other funding sources to the new square footage that you swapped. So that could be beneficial.
Thank you.
Just wanted to be clear too, their models don't assume any commercial. So the feasibility is already very challenged even without the commercial.
But also saying for your model about affordability, they can always utilize concessional waivers you can get out of those commercials anyway. So it's a policy that already exists. But I wanted to know how this happens.
Yeah, just to piggyback up your piggyback. I saw you mentioned that some developers suggested delaying property taxes, and I haven't seen that suggested before. Have developers seen that in other areas? And if so, where and why was that allowed?
Yes, I'm not sure if that question was directed at us, but
Yes.
Other cities have successfully used reducing property taxes to spur development. So Seattle, Philadelphia, I'm pretty familiar with Philadelphia. I mean, they gave a property tax holiday for new development of, I think, between 5 and 10 years, which is obviously a major cost to the city, but they spurred a huge amount of development in the city when they did that. And other cities have similarly used that.
Yeah, New York, although it may be phasing out, New York has used a pilot program, a payment in lieu of taxes program. So they pay lower payments in lieu of taxes and then ramp back up to their full property tax burden.
It's done in St. Louis as well.
To add, the city council was also very interested in this, given the feedback that we got. We're looking more into it. It's a little more, I think some of the cities you mentioned are outside of California, so it gets a little bit more complicated in the context of the state. And we probably need a little bit more help with that, because the city's portion of property tax is about 14 cents on the dollar, really. So there's significant state and county portion that if you really want to do kind of the more meaningful property tax abatement, kind of to look at those pieces. But we're kind of looking at multiple versions of that to see if it's possible or not.
Well, and I think there are people exploring this at the state legislative level.
Right.
It could be a lot of Sacramento.
Yeah.
case for this, like, because you don't really need the county and the state,
Right.
and other portions of theirs too. There is not.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I have two hopefully quick questions here. First one was about, I guess, how these sorts of studies respond to changes in the regulatory environment. So there was already mentioned, mass timber is a potentially cheaper construction method. And I'm particularly curious about single staircase buildings, which I know the governor signed a bill earlier this year to kind of take the first steps towards legalizing those. I know that sample project in Seattle that fit 17 units on less than 1/10 of an acre with that sort of, construction style. So I'm curious if future versions of this study might evaluate both different construction methods and materials, and then also different, building topologies.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. And I think future versions of the study should certainly evaluate that. I think at this point, we were kind of looking at what is the prevalent type of construction now and in the recent past. And as you know, there has not been that much mass timber construction yet. It seems to be just starting. If that proves out to be, something that becomes both, commonly accepted by developers and also construction lenders, that will, could make a big impact in cost. I think, we'll see. Similarly for single staircase buildings, I mean, that's another huge, if that change kind of can fully go through and change the way that buildings are designed, it can really make a huge difference. So I definitely think that's a great question. And as those become actual realities, the city will want to incorporate them in future studies to see how that affects feasibility.
Thank you. And then my second quick question was just if either of these studies looked at any costs associated with compliance with, citywide design standards and development standards. I was talking to a developer a couple weeks ago who was basically talking about, some of the building costs associated with things like setbacks and step backs and facade articulations. And he basically said, anytime you deviate from just a box, the construction costs go up. So I'm curious if we tried to quantify that at all and see if any easing of any of our design standards could actually increase feasibility in any cases.
Yeah, so that's a good question. We did not. I think some of those costs are implied in our development costs. We did not separately study how are San Jose's design costs and requirements more than or different than other cities in this study. And we also did hear the feedback from some of the developers that there are costs that at least they believe may not occur in other cities where there's quality development. So that could be something to examine. I don't know, again, just looking at the big picture, is that going to turn infeasible into feasible tomorrow? No, but as we're trying to make marginal differences to make things better, that may be worth more study.
And there have been a few projects where the applicants or developers have requested for exception to our design guidelines. And some of the information they provided are like a pro forma to show that, otherwise it will be financially infeasible.
Interesting. And I just want to add too, this is why we want to do this on a regular basis. So those types of things you're talking about, we can try to respond to, understand, if they're helpful, if they're not helpful, and how we could change things, or how we could respond better. So that's why we make it having this regular.
And I have one more quick question that I just remembered. I think in the overview of the prototypes that were studied, it looked like the lowest parking ratio that was evaluated was like in the 0.8 to 1 units, presumably per unit. Did we look at any lower parking ratios and whether that would affect feasibility?
We did not, and it's interesting. I mean, I think the parking ratio, especially for type 1 and these others, it does affect feasibility because it's costly to build parking and take space from a project for parking. On the other hand, some of the feedback we heard from the developers and other principals was that our parking ratios are actually too low because realistically, nobody's going to buy a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom condominium if they can't get 2 parking spaces or at least 1 parking space. And so I think your question is perceptive in that is a factor. in feasibility, but unfortunately, at least what we heard is that there is still demand for parking, and that makes it hard to just say we're going to do a project with very little parking. So it's a good question.
If you need parking, that's part of the purchase. That seems like that could remedy that problem.
Sorry, you're saying
unbundle parking? Like, you're saying unbundle parking from the unit?
Yeah.
Yes and no, in the sense of like, if the market rent, the market competition is such that they are, people are selling on the for sale side, for sale condominiums, people expect to receive at a certain price point, they expect to receive a certain number of parking spaces as part of their unit. If you unbundle it, sure, they could pay less, but they still want the parking. And so it doesn't necessarily help.
Yeah, because you create two markets, one's the unit, one's the park.
Yeah, we can do that, but if you build less parking and it gets sold out, right, then it hampers the sales of the remaining units that don't have any parking available to them.
I think we tried to be as kind of aggressive as we felt like was reasonable in the parking assumption. But yeah, I think there's even some direct feedback. I think we have 0.08 in type 1, and I think some direct feedback when people was like, oh, I wouldn't go below 1 even in downtown. So I think we tried to balance that, but I think they're really limited on what the kind of the financial market will bear in terms of what they're interested in.
I think that's a good job on that, because the market will determine, and that's a part of the market condition for a builder. Let them determine higher if necessary.
And that's what the policy designed out.
Right.
So I
Go
go ahead.
I was gonna ask folks, okay, and move on to the next presentation, but
I just wanted, I know the impact fees only represent 3% like the whole cost of a project, but I still think to incentivize developers, I mean, have you thought about reducing that, freezing that for some time period?
Yeah, I think, coming out of the study session, we got some more questions from council, and that's something we're evaluating right now. Council soon with some concepts. I know in particular on affordable housing, we've had some direction to look at reducing or suspending construction taxes, something that we used to do, something that could help lower that kind of overall impact fee on affordable. So we do have some existing direction from council to go back with those changes, but I think we're looking more broadly. We've had our downtown high-rise program for a long time. And, should that continue? Should that kind of be expanded? Given the current conditions, those are all things I think we're kind of evaluating and considering. Again, so that it's not that it necessarily has an impact in the current market, but so that we're set up, in 12 months or 18 months from now, maybe there's something that we could kind of spur moving along. So.
Yeah, and then obviously for a developer, time is money, right? So the faster you could get something approved, faster you get the money, maybe at a reduced cost, given the way the interest rates have been rising. I would like to see maybe, somehow over the counter express more stuff like that, where you're working with whatever professionals to really help expedite these projects. I think that would make a significant change.
Yeah, so one of our major programs in the housing element is looking at that ministerial approval process for housing development. So that would be, no hearing, would be a very speedy process.
Meeting a public hearing. This goes to Robert and checks the box.
How fast is that process?
are we ready to move on to the next presentation?
Well,
I'm curious.
So I can use SB 35 as an example to usher into. So SB 35 does the same thing. No secret ministerial. The only requirement is the labor, the unionized, not living wages and all that. We've seen that even after projects have gone to SB 35 and we approve them, they don't have money to build, so they go for federal funds and then they come back to do NEPA, which is also environmental requirements from the feds. And that's time.
But Margaret has some good data. So that
I've never known speed to market to not be important. I think that could resolve a lot of tension, because they're right precariously placed between business cycles. And if you're on the wrong book inside, it is never going to work.
That's just interesting too. There's the speed at which we can permit and construct housing usually outlasts the council.
I know that.
Interesting.
Well, My time's up, so.
Yeah.
There you go. Jay, Griselda, Leo, and Jared, thank you so much for that presentation. We're gonna move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the legislative update from Daniels Wade from the city attorney's office. I'm gonna do it in a minute.
We've got some time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Feel free to stay if you want to. Yes, please.
So nice to see you all. Fun. So I'll try to make it quick. I mean, I was trying to budget for 20 minutes, but I'll see how fast I can do it. But I wanted to start off with saying that this again was a legislative year of housing. We saw a lot of housing bills, and we just could see from these presentations kind of like what we're up against, right? The frustrations, the costs, the time, the impediments, the regulations. I mean, it's just overwhelming. Tense. So you have another legislative body trying to figure it out for us, right? So you have the state. I'll just go through. There were 5 bills that addressed streamlining, 7 bills addressing CEQA, 6 bills addressing density land use planning, 3 bills addressing ADUs, 2 bills addressing enforcement. These are all housing related. 6 bills addressing anti-displacement and affordable housing, 3 bills addressing financing and costs, and 3 bills addressing parking. So that's a lot of bills, a lot of time, a lot of resources funneled into solving this problem. So I chose 3 Assembly bills and 3 Senate bills, and I'll go through them somewhat quickly. But obviously, if you guys have any questions, you can ask questions. I am not an expert on legislation. I read it just like anybody else online, right? I wasn't involved in these bills, but I'm always happy to kind of noodle through some of this stuff. The first one, I'm going to start with CEQA. And I think Commissioner Tordias, you sent a list of certain bills that I picked from that list, as well as maybe some that Director Manford had sent to us. AB 1307, which is addresses residential noise impacts. And so this year, we had a court case that came down in favor of a neighborhood organization called Make UC a Good Neighbor. And if you're all familiar with UC Berkeley and the campus and People's Park, well, UC was going to develop People's Park with affordable housing and student housing. So they every 10 years, maybe 20 years, no, every 10 years, there's a long-range development plan that every UC puts into place, addresses housing, enrollment, et cetera, how the UC plans to grow. So interestingly enough, there was another CEQA challenge from another case last year against UC's long-range development plan and the EIR associated with that plan. The CEQA petition challenged in the enrollment, basically saying that UC hadn't analyzed enrollment growth properly under its supplemental EIR, and they won. And so the legislature rushed in and created a emergency legislation to say no, enrollment is exempt from CEQA. Shocking, amazing. That was like take it away from the courts.
Yeah.
What's that?
Students are pollution.
Yeah. So that's what
That's
So this is another reaction law. Basically, the appellate court sided with the neighborhood group, Make UC a Good Neighbor. And because there was a secret petition that basically said, hey, they didn't analyze, among other things, they didn't analyze the noise pollution from parties and student housing around People's Park. They didn't mitigate it, therefore the environmental document was insufficient, and so they tossed it out. And so
you're saying this is a bill that exempt party noise from.
I didn't.
So yeah, so Assembly Member Bucky Wicks introduced AB 1307, emergency legislation. Again, UC Roots is a very powerful lobby that came in and said, hey, legislature, fix this because it's going to California Supreme Court. They're going to address it. So basically, they came in with AB 1307 to specify that residential projects, noise generated by occupants and or guests is not significant effect on the environment. That they basically, using this law to reestablish an existing precedent that minor noise nuisances such as human voices will be addressed through local nuisance ordinances and not through CEQA. So CEQA cannot be used to consider people as pollution. So it's kind of a fun one to start off with.
There is sunset period for that law. You said it's emergency, so was there a time period for it that it's effective?
It was an urgency, yeah, it was in effect immediately. So I think it was something that, I don't know how the process works for, kind of like an urgency ordinance, but whenever it was adopted, I'm sure the governor either signed it immediately.
But when does it expire?
It doesn't. sunset.
Or it's,
It doesn't, yeah.
it doesn't, okay.
So, but you can see, I bring this up also because you could see if this had gone through and wasn't challenged, or at least the Supreme Court affirmed this ruling, you could see the abuse from people, from developers saying like, or anybody who wanted to stop a development, be like, hey, you didn't analyze all the noise that's going around here from people living in these apartment buildings or whatever it is around. So anyway, they came in, they put it into that. So the next bill I'm going to talk about is Assembly Bill 1449 from Assemblymember Alvarez, and this is a new CEQA exemption for affordable housing. And to qualify for this new exemption, project must be 100% low-income housing, meet prevailing wage and other labor standards, and I think that's important because a lot of these affordable housing bills have these prevailing wage standards, and this is a huge issue with cost. I mean, it's this is just, if you want to get embroiled in politics and labor, kind of labor's investment in the capital, but also like a prevailing wage is a very important thing for people living in this valley, right? So this is super interesting. So you have prevailing wage, other labor standards, has to be an infill location, you get a range of criteria tending to ensure the site has access to transit and other amenities. It has a more permissible definition of infill, which is interesting. So it's requiring a site to be surrounded by urban uses on 3 sides rather than 75%. Also notable that the site location criteria can be met by 1/2 mile proximity to high quality transit or a major transit stop, or a location in a very low vehicle area, which is intended to capture areas that don't have access to transit, but otherwise have lower vehicle miles traveled averages in surrounding areas. Another option for meeting the location criteria has been added for projects within 1 mile or 2 for a parcel in a rural area of 6 or more designated amenities, for example, grocery store, public park, community center, pharmacy, library, or school. So that's for AB 1449, new CEQA exemption for affordable housing. Another Assembly Bill 1033, just briefly, Assembly Member Ting introduced this. And so we used to, or the state used to allow local governments to restrict selling ADUs separately. It was only reserved for qualified nonprofits who could convey or sell ADUs separately from the primary residence to a low-income buyer through a tenancy in common. So there was a very strict kind of requirement to be able to sell an ADU separate from the primary residence. And now AB 1033 allows cities, doesn't require cities, but allows cities to write an ordinance to permit the separate sale as a condominium of the ADU separate from the house. But
exploring doing anything like that?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, we've been busy with the housing element, so.
So he's giving you the updates of the laws that have been passed. We're still catching up to the law.
Talk to us in 5 years.
AB 1033, the hindrance for people to do that is you have to have an HOA established. I think that's what.
Davis Sterling laws still apply, yeah.
And so, I mean, that means lawyer fees and whatnot.
That's the lawyer bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
HOA fees, all that stuff, yeah.
I mean, surprising, I just know that we're interested in this for sure. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing we ask council, this is a kind of wants to pursue.
I'm glad you believe in full employment for lawyers. That's your thing.
I mean, we got from a planning standpoint, we have condos, we need to ensure access that all gets built in terms of doing it. We and planning don't want to just enable something that creates probability in the future and access in the future, that you have to pay an attorney to figure out the conflict, right? So.
Yeah, we're baked in, man.
I forgot you said it directly to her.
However, creating affordable homeownership through this would be a good thing for, you know, a lot of people that are living at home with their parents and want to move out.
As we just heard with mobile home parks, I mean, this is another solution to allowing people.
It could be a template.
Yeah, if it's done, right, yeah.
Multiple story ADUs, who knows, you know?
Well, I mean, the
We already have one.
I think you must.
Able to restrict or have to restrict.
We're able to.
And so this one's out there.
It's like the flip, yeah, now we're able to provide, allow. So, no, we were, so
We weren't.
we weren't able before to allow.
We weren't able to.
Yeah.
Now we can, yeah, so.
Because in a couple years, maybe we'll be required to allow.
So now to the Senate bills, quickly, Senate Bill 684 from Senator Caballero. Ministerial approval for up to 10-unit housing projects on small sites. This addresses the missing middle type of housing, which is a range of house building style with multiple units. Basically, they're compatible in scale and form to a detached single-family home located in a walkable neighborhood. So 684 requires CEQA exempt ministerial approval for up to 10 units of housing on qualifying multifamily infill sites of 5 acres.
No, but this is streamlining the stupid process.
If a city has.
People, you want to know what they got.
Yeah, this is just.
Eight small lots. So a lot of this, yeah, a lot of this is, a lot of this legislation is addressing CEQA and a lot of these bills because people are legislators are very aware that CEQA is being used to stop. So next we have SB4, which is also known as the YIGBY bill. So extra points for anybody who knows what YIGBY means.
Yes, in God's backyard.
That's not school. Yes, in God's backyard. So this allows faith-based institutions and nonprofit colleges to build affordable multifamily housing on their land by removing zoning restrictions and streamlining the permitting process, right? So basically it doesn't matter what the zoning is anymore. If you're faith-based, you can build affordable housing. The new law guarantees by right approval of new housing as long as they're consistent with all objective building standards, comply with existing environmental protections that are exempt from CEQA.
So some, you know, just.
We don't know that, I know what you're gonna ask, we don't know the detail.
But it's interesting, I mean, you figure like a lot of churches have a ton of land. It's just sitting on parking.
And it's funny, because this is the thing we were struggling with, and we're struggling with it from, as Jared said, but we have to be good at it. The CEQA part of it is really challenging because everything's becoming exempt in CEQA. That means that cities have to do all the environmental analysis when they pass the enabling legislation or ordinance, and that makes it really hard. So we were really struggling with that. But lo and behold, the state comes and does it for us. So, yeah.
So no more planning anymore, you guys.
No more, hey, when that happens, there's no more turn.
Religious institutes are in residential areas, so then the impact to the residential neighborhood could be significant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're out of all the state did it.
Yeah. That's what it is, right? To give cover, basically.
That's right.
To the politicians who are in those districts.
That's a village remedy now. It can fletch from.
Hey, it's not agenda.
Yeah. To be honest, so finally on SB4 has other provisions again. For construction workers must be paid prevailing wages, projects over 10 units, and then for those over 50 units, in addition to prevailing wages, they must also offer apprentices employment and pay for healthcare. So, interesting. So last but not least, Senate Bill 423, which is an extension of SB 35. This is another one, Senator Weiner's bill. So the last one, SB 4 YIGBY bill, was Senator Weiner. This is the second significant bill, which expands its strength in Senate Bill 35. So that was passed in 2017. So as a reminder, Senate Bill 35 from 2017 requires cities and counties that fail to meet their regional housing needs assessment or RENA numbers to ministerial approved multifamily housing developments that meet certain requirements, i.e. deed restricted housing, deed restricted affordable housing in urban area, infill, zone residential, meeting objective standards, labor standards, providing protection for tenant occupied buildings, cultural resources, and other certain sensitive regions. So I don't know if you all remember SB 35, but this is basically an extension of that. So 423 extends SB 35's sunset timeline to January 1st, 2036, and expands both how jurisdictions become subject to streamlined ministerial approvals and the types of project that can qualify for approval. SB 423 expands the reach subject to streamlined ministerial approval, and then it refines labor standards necessary to qualify in an effort to make projects more financially viable. So I have a comparison that I took offline that kind of shows the old SB 35 requirement and then kind of the updated requirements. So I'll just read through those. There's about 6 of them. Touch base if we have time for that real quick.
Sure.
So with multifamily housing developments on state-owned or leased property, right? So this is regarding to state-owned property. Local governments under SB 35 were able to review and approve qualifying multifamily housing development projects within their jurisdiction on state-owned property or state-leased property. Now, AB 423 actually allows the Department of General Services to choose to act in the place of the local government to come in and approve and review qualifying multifamily housing development projects. So in circumstances in which the government could previously review SB 35 projects on state land, now the state can come in and review its own projects. Or review projects on its own. So applicability, real quick, the SB 35 project to be located in jurisdictions that fail to produce the number of its RENA numbers. Basically, I don't know if we're ever going to reach our RENA numbers, so we're always going to be subject to SB
There's
35.
3 thresholds, is if you're not meeting your market rate and if you're not meeting your affordable, and most of these reasons they don't meet the affordable.
Yeah.
So then that's what applies to us, which means that 50% of the units or more have to be affordable, which effectively means it's all affordable housing. Nobody goes 50% market rate.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is the applicability. Basically, a lot more jurisdictions are going to be subject to this new law that weren't subject before. And then consistency determination. A local government under SB 35 must approve development if the local government determines development is consistent with objective zoning standards or planning standards. Now, AB 423 has changed that. Local government must approve a development if the planning director, not the local government, the planning director or equivalent position determines the development is consistent with objective planning standards. So basically, this takes it out of the city council's hands, gives it to the planning director to.
Hey, it's also
make those determinations.
So that's effectively what we're already doing.
So basically, this empowers staff to make determinations based on applicable objective standards without additional process or political pressure. Permissible review of a development application. So SB 35, planning commission or equivalent board or commission may conduct design review or public oversight of the development. Now, planning commission or equivalent board is strictly limited to design review. So planning commission can only look at design review. So with this previous change that I just mentioned, SB 423 requires staff rather than elected or appointed officials to make final decisions about approving or denying ministerial projects. And the design review hearing remains allowed, however, the final action of the project is taken by staff.
We don't do that here anymore.
So prerequisites to project approval. Now SB or AB 423, local governments cannot require any of the following before approving a development that meets the requirements for an SB 35 project. So we cannot require studies, information, or other materials that do not pertain directly to determining whether the development is consistent with objective planning standards applicable to development, compliance with any standards necessary to receive post-entitlement permit through local local governments can require compliance with certain standards after development projects approved. So the impact of this is local governments must wait until later in the development process to enforce certain standards. Local governments still have the ability to enforce such standards. However, local governments cannot withhold project approval to address post-entitlement concerns. And last but not least, pre-application materials, SB 35. Require before submitting an application for qualifying multifamily developments, the developer must submit to local government a notice of intent to submit an application. Now, under 423, the same requirement applies, but the development, if the development is in a proposed census tract that's designated either as moderate resource area, low resource area, or high segregation and poverty area, the local government must hold a public meeting to provide an opportunity for the public or local government to comment on the development. So this basically ensures that the public has adequate notice about the streamlined ministerial project that's happening in their neighborhood, an opportunity to provide non-binding comments before a project is submitted. SB 423 requires additional public outreach for projects in low or moderate resource areas and areas of high segregation and poverty. So that's an interesting twist on the new SB.
So I have a question. A lot of the problems we've had from a process standpoint with SB 35 is the community members saying that even when it's not about it, now we get a call, or we get a call from 18th floor, something's going on here, what is it? Well, it's streamline projects, no need to do any public review or hearing. The one project in particular, I know you know about this, the KUSA, D9, right of law ceilings and all that. I mean, can you throw more light on that and how, because we cannot require, we recommend public hearing, but then they are requiring studies and all that coming out with information that don't have anything to do with SB 35, but then they are linking it to safety as well.
Yeah, so I'll try to tie it into that last requirement, right? How that might impact. So this is a particular project that is less than 90 feet. What's the total feet? Maybe even closer to that, 45 feet. I can't remember. Anyway, there's a gas station.
Is this the Chuck E. Cheese project?
Yes. Yep, District 9.
Yeah.
So there's a housing project that's within 45 feet, 90 feet of the gas pump at the front door of the project. And so the neighborhood is up in arms saying, this is ridiculous. How could you possibly not do an environmental study of this project?
It checks all the boxes.
This is out of our hands because in the SB 35 project, there's no secret review. And so the question came up about whether safety review, and of course we do for these types of projects, but it is not under CEQA. So I will tie it back in that had we, under this new SB 423, we would have been required, once we received the intent to submit an SB 35 application, we would have been required to have a public meeting with everybody there, with the developers, with everyone to say, here's what's happening here. So now the public is in total, is notified that this is going to be happening. I don't know if that would have changed things much because they're non-binding comments. It just would.
And I'm not sure that might be a high resource area.
Yes, that.
Oh, right.
That means why.
That's right.
It will come to planning commission.
The Chuck E. Cheese is high resource.
That's right. But I mean, so that is that, I mean, I think there was a project up in Richmond that was, contaminated soil, right? It's landfill. And here you have an SB 35 project. Sorry, there's nothing we can really do about this.
Yes,
I think the intent is not to let to do the application take advantage. It's like, I would need to go to the public, it's this process. So I would probably look at, that's why that policy is that at least the city has some backing if we want to push that bit further for that outreach, that information. And getting these inputs that are at least heard, whether we can apply it, the rest of the changes we made to we can't.
But it's an interesting dynamic that, you kind of start thinking about is affordable housing then has less and less protections against, who knows what kind of environmental impacts. It has, less design review, right? It's like the cheapest, most streamlined kind of project for, you're getting rid of impact fees that provide for, parks and provide for other things that might be necessary for folks in, different income levels. And it's just, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of trade-offs that happen. It's
There's no functional, there's no teeth. So, you get your voice heard, but no one has to listen. But it takes the city off of it, and says, well, you were heard.
But it gives us the teeth to make the developer do something. This is one time, to at least say you have to go in front of the crowd.
It makes them present, but it doesn't make them listen.
Chair, what do you want to do about?
Yeah, all right, okay, so does that conclude the presentation? All right,
Can I ask a real quick question?
Sure.
Daniel? On when we can appear on Zoom, as far as at a hearing, did the law around that change at all, or?
They did update, from what I remember, they did update, it did not change your ability to appear.
The criteria is still the
Right.
same.
So I think they just kind of,
The senator there had a bill, but I'm guessing he didn't pass.
I don't believe so. What I know though is that AB 361, which was the emergency powers for kind of bypassing the teleconference rules under the Brown Act, were made permanent. Basically, I think that it no longer just applies to COVID. Anytime the governor has a state of emergency, we're able to take advantage of those teleconference rules. But yeah, there was nothing that I know, that was made drastically different. Okay. But I mean, if there is, I'll look into it. I just remember glancing through that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
So we're about 15 minutes behind schedule. We are scheduled for a 15-minute break, but I'm going to suggest we still have the break because we have 35 minutes blocked off for public comment at the end, and we have one member of the public on Zoom and one here in person. So I think we'll probably not use that full time.
Well, if we may ask Boris whether she's back constrained.
Oh, that's a good point.
Me? No, I've
Okay,
got
okay.
3 slides, so.
Perfect.
All right.
So what time?
At this time, we'll take a 15-minute break.
I'm not really going because my daughter's good.